Hello and welcome to Sprouting Season. Today, much anticipated day. I wasn't really planning on doing this today, but I'm going to go ahead and smoke my brisket. I wanted to go over real quick what I'm using today, and I'm going to expose all my secrets. I'm using an Oklahoma Joe smoker. When I first got this smoker, it didn't want to cooperate with me, so I had to do some modifications to it. And what I did was went ahead and extended the stack for better air circulation, and I went ahead and added this modification to it, which channels the smoke underneath the grates, and it brings it up over the brisket itself, instead of the smoke coming straight up in the heat over the top and going straight out. Now I'm able to regulate the temperature with this modification. And also I put in a damper. I made my own damper out of one of the grill grates and some aluminum foil. And what that does is channel the fire and the smoke downwards, so it rolls off the bottom and then it comes up and then right out this mod that I put in. So with this, I don't need to use any external temperature probes or anything. I can use the gauges that are on top, and these are very accurate now. Also, when cooking on these, you want to maintain the most important thing is fire management. Without fire management, you're not going to get a good brisket. And it took me quite a long time to master that. It's not something you just come out and just do and it's done. It's trial and error. That's why I came up with these modifications. I found something that works for me for this grill. You may use a different type of smoker, but for this particular one, this works perfectly. If you want a good restaurant style brisket, I'm going to show you how to do it. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go over the firebox now, the way I have it set up. Like I said, different strokes for different folks. If you've got a different smoker than me, then it may be different for you, but I'm going to show you how I do it. What I did here was I took my grill grates and I put a V format in there. I found that this works very well with this particular grill, and by doing this, my fire gets a lot of oxygen, so it stays hot and it never smolders on me unless I overdo it with the wood. I try to get all my wood kiln dried. What I normally do over here is I've got a hot box here that I use to keep the briskets warm. Normally I use it for the brisket, and I use it for my wood also. I put my wood in here, put it on 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and I let it sit and heat up, and it heats the wood up and dries out all the moisture. You want to get as much moisture as possible out of your wood. You don't want to use wood with a lot of moisture in it, because you're going to get a black sooty smoke, and it's going to be real gritty on the meat, and you don't want that soot to build up on the meat itself. So you got to have real good dry wood to do this. I usually leave the back door wide open for air circulation, and my stack, I leave it wide open the whole time. I never choke off the fire. I leave it hot, and like I said, that way it's easier to manage, and it doesn't take much to keep these things going. At first, it does take a lot of energy, charcoal and wood to get this thing up to temperature and get it hot and ready to put the brisket on. That's about it for right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get my wood prepared and go ahead and get this thing lit up and get it hot and ready for the brisket, and then we'll go inside and look at the brisket. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my charcoal chimney fired up, and we're gonna let this burn down, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get uh, my wood and my charcoal in the firebox. And what their main goal is right now is to build a nice uh, coal bed. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to let it burn down into ash and ambers, and then we're going to keep adding to it until we build up a nice mound of hot coal, a nice coal bed. Once we do that, then we're ready, and we get this up to temperature. We don't let it ride for about 15 minutes and let it get hot, and then we'll be ready to put our brisket on. That's it. You just let it go and it'll take off on its own. Okay guys, so as you can see here, we went ahead and dumped our charcoal, and we went ahead and put some wood on the fire. And right now what we're trying to achieve is get a nice hot coal bed going. Remember, I used the V grates. That's so all the ash can channel down below the grates, and I can constantly have oxygen flow to my fire. Having plenty of oxygen to the fire is very, very important. Without it, you're just going to smolder. Also, what I want to go over is I like to cook Central Texas style barbecue. What we're cooking today is a Central Texas style brisket, and we use live oak or post oak. You can use whatever you like, wherever you're from, whatever you have abundance of, go ahead and use it. Maybe white oak, hickory, mesquite, pecan. But down here we have a lot of oak, so that's what we use. So as you can see here, I get all my wood from New Braunfels, Texas. That's where most of the smokehouses are in Texas. They're in that area, Central Texas. That oak wood seems to be the choice wood to smoke brisket with, or any barbecue. And I believe that all oak is not equal. You know, it all depends on where that oak is growing and what kind of nutrients it's getting out of the soil. Produces different flavors. So not all oak is the same. So, but right now we're going to go where we are firing up the chamber itself, the cooking chamber, and getting it up to temperature. We want to get it hot so we can clean it out and get it prepped up and ready for the brisket to go on. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, what we have here is a 15-pound full packer brisket. We're going to go ahead and start trimming it down. As you can see, I have it ready on the board, and I'm going to show you guys how to trim this. What you want to do basically is you want to take off any large chunks of fat. You want to get it down to where you have, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch of a fat cap on top. You want to leave for moisture, and that keeps the brisket from drying out. And then we're going to go ahead and trim it up. That way it depends on how you trim it, will depend on how it cooks on the grill. When you trim these, you want to trim them up to where they're kind of aerodynamic. You want to take off any sharp corners and round them off, because those corners will just burn up and it's unedible. So that's what we're going to start on right now. So we're going to start trimming some of this fat cap down, and we'll be right back. All right, right, so we got finished trimming up our brisket. This thing was a lot fattier than I thought it was by looking at it through the package. It's pretty much, I had to take it all off. It's that fat that will not render down. It's like, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a slimy fat, kind of like. You want to take all that off because that fat right there will never render out and it'll be a fatty brisket. So obviously it wasn't a good choice, so but we'll fix it up. It's ready to go. We've got the flat here and we've got the point here. The point is marbled with fat, so I'm not too worried about it drying out. The flat side of it, we're going to leave some of this fat on it. If it doesn't render out, it doesn't render out, but we'll give it a shot. We're going to go ahead and season it now, and what I like to use is Goldie's barbecue brisket rub. This stuff here is the best. If you want a good Texas flavored brisket, this right here is the best stuff. They usually sell this at Walmart. You can't find it at other local grocery stores, but Walmart does sell it. So you may be able to find it at your local Walmart. So we'll go ahead and get started seasoning it up. And you want to be liberal with the shake on it. So we want to make sure we cover all of it really well. And this seasoning here, it does create a nice bark. So as it's cooking, it's got a lot. It's real peppery, so it's. You want to make sure you get the sides. Pat it in real well. You can use a binder, such as mustard. You can use Worcestershire sauce. I'm not using anything. We'll just go ahead and lay it on and pat it in. Make sure you get the sides. Don't forget the sides. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and flip it over. Go ahead and get the sides, pick it up by just dabbing it and get the rest of the seasoning up. But like I said, you can use a binder if you like. I'm not going to use one on this particular cook, so. And that's it. If you're buying full packers at the store, make sure they're USDA or Prime or Wagyu or anything like that. You don't want to get anything below USDA because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So, but this brisket, it'll cook good. It'll turn out good. I know it will. So, the point side of it is marbled with fat, so it will be juicy. I already see it. So, but we went ahead and trimmed the sides up. Went ahead and rounded off the edges here. That's what you want. You want to take that mohawk off that sits on top, because all that will burn up in the cook. You won't be able to eat it. So all these edges will just burn up. So it's good to just cut them all off. Get the brisket all aerodynamic, where the smoke, when it cooks, that smoke will flow right over the top. Any sharp edges, if it hits it, it's gonna burn up. So as you can see, we've got a real nice aerodynamics going on right here, and we're gonna go check on the pit now. Let's go see what it's doing. Our smoker is about up to temp. We're actually a little bit over. We're sitting at about 275. I'd like to get it between 225 and 250 when I smoke brisket. You don't want it to be more than 275. The main important thing when smoking a brisket is fire management. You got to keep your temperature steady. If you do not keep it steady, it's not going to cook right. You're going to have that brisket's just going to turn into a nightmare. You need to learn fire management. That's the most important thing. After that, man, you can do this. You can do this, I mean, with ease. Right now, like I said, our temperature's coming down to where we want it. We're about 250, 275. We're going to throw the brisket on about 250. And we're going to maintain that temperature between 225 and 250. We've got, that little bit of span. It can bounce in between there. That's fine, but you don't want large fluctuations in your temperature. You don't want it to shoot down to 200 and then pop back up to 300, and then, and it's just bouncing all over the place. That's number one. Number two, when I smoke brisket, the first hour I always cook dirty. A lot of people are like, no, you don't do that, this and that. Well, I do it. I don't wrap brisket. I don't do a Texas crutch. I don't do any of those techniques. I put my brisket on and I cook dirty for about an hour. That means that I've got full-blown smoke coming out. That first hour is very important. That first hour is when that meat is going to absorb all that smoke and all that flavor. Okay, now after that hour, we're going to tame that fire to get it to where we're burning clean, where you just got nothing to a light blue smoke coming out of the stack. And you need to maintain that. If you start going a little dirty and start smoking a lot, you got to go back to your fire management and go ahead and start opening up some chambers and let that smoke out. You don't want to over smoke the meat, because then it gets real grimy and grainy tasting, and it's not good barbecue. So that's where we're at. So we're going to be throwing the brisket on here next. As you can see, my temperature is getting down. We're about to hit 250. That's where you want to be, and we're going to toss the brisket on and we'll get going. All right, so we're back. As you can see, my temperature, it's sitting right where I want it, 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where you want to be. And when you put your brisket on, always put your point towards the fire, and we're going to move it back this way here. This is a small smoker, so I don't have a lot of room. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to slide it on now, just like that. And that's it right there. Now, just a quick tip, all the pieces that I cut off all around it, you can use that if you got a meat grinder. You can make sausage with it, or me, I like to cook it up and give it to my dogs. I don't put any seasoning on it or anything. I just lay it on here, and when it's ready, my dogs enjoy eating that as well. So we are at the 4-hour mark. 4-hour mark. So I wanted to show you what it looks like right now. So let's go ahead and look. So as you can see, it's got a nice bark on it. It's starting to form. The brisket's starting to puddle a little bit right here. And then you can see the bark on the back side here. So it's cooking barely well. So we'll keep on at it. Just keep smoking. And remember, if you're looking, you ain't cooking. So Just keep it closed. Keep that fire set at between 225 and 275, right in that range. If it fluctuates in between that range, that's okay. Just keep it in that range. Okay, so that gives you a lot of temperature to play with. All right, so that's where we're at. We're sitting at about 265 right now, so we're still okay. So we'll see you here in a little bit. Okay, so we are 8 hours into this cook. What we're going to be searching for right now is the stall. We can go ahead and take a look at it. That's what it looks like, and we're going to put a temperature probe to it, and we're going to check the point since that's closest to the meat. And we are sitting at 172. So right now it's in the stall between 165 and 180. That's where it's going to stall out at. So we need to push through that stall. We are looking for a temperature of about 190, 195, and then we're going to pull it. All right. Okay, so it's been 10 hours total, this cook. We're going to go ahead and temp it. And we should be sitting where we need to be. That's where we want to be. About 190, 195. It'll cook for another 3 to 5 more degrees. And it'll be ready. So that was a 10-hour cook, cooking between 225 and 275, fluctuating in between those in that temperature range. That's where you want to be for the entire cook. We're going to go ahead and pull it, and then we're going to wrap it. So we'll see you inside. Okay, so we got the brisket inside. What we're going to do now is go ahead and wrap the brisket. We're not going to cut into it or anything like that. I usually wrap it. We're going to use some beef tallow here. That right there will soften up the bark because I didn't wrap this brisket during the cook. So the bark is real hard right now. And what this will do is soften it up. And I usually put this in the warmer at 120 degrees and I let it sit for about 10 hours before I cut into it. So we're going to go ahead and move it over to the foil. Just like that. And as you can see, it's got a nice mahogany look. That's what you want. But it is real hard, and you can see it jiggling, so it's it's ready. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add our tallow now to it. Usually I like to put me 1 scoop on top and put me a scoop on the bottom, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. You want to wrap it tight against the brisket itself. Alright, and there it is. We'll get a tray now, and we will put this in the food warmer, and we're going to leave that in there till about 10 in the morning, and just leave it in there when we're ready. I like the brisket to sit at least 10 hours before cutting into it, and what that does is redistribute all the juice in the brisket, and it relaxes the muscle in the meat, and it's just a much better brisket that way. Okay, so we just pulled our brisket. We let it sit in the warmer for 10 hours after a 10-hour cook. We do that because we let the juices recirculate back through the meat and everything, and it just makes a better quality brisket when you let it sit and rest at eating temperature about 120 to 150. That's where I set it. So it's been in the warmer for 10 hours. So we're gonna go ahead and open it up and cut into it. Let's see what it looks like. So there it is, right there. Nice mahogany color. And also we do that because when I cook the briskets, I don't wrap them, so the bark on it gets really hard and builds up a lot of crust. And when we add that tallow to it, what that does is soften up the bark. So let's go ahead and move it over to the cutting board. There. And there you go. It's got a nice smoke ring on it. That's the point, the flat here. So we'll go ahead and take a slice. There it is. Nice pull on it. Doesn't fall apart like a roast or anything like that. Let's taste it. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this cook. I hope you learned a little something. You can produce restaurant quality barbecue at home. You know, do your own thing. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. There are some rules that you do need to follow, and I did list them off as we went through this cook. But other than that, there's no wrong way of making a brisket. You just do what you got to do. Also, there's another secret to Texas barbecue. It's more than just salt and pepper, as they always say. The secret ingredient really for a base seasoning, use Lawry's steak seasoning with salt and pepper. All right, use that for all your, if you want a Texas style brisket, it will come out great. All right, well, thank you.